Okay, so I'm making this video for those that were absent recently, but this is section 1.4. So this is section 1.4, and this is on inverses of functions. Inverses of functions. Okay, this is a very straightforward section. Not much to it. Basically, an inverse basically reverses the x and y pairings. So basically, just think of it as opposites. So what I told you guys in class the other day was, if you guys learned this, it's in geometry. So let's say you're gonna find the tangent of x. You can use, if you know a certain angle, you can find a certain side. But then tangent inverse of x would be used if you knew a side, you could solve for an angle. In algebra 2, basically, yeah, it's just the opposites of each other. So basically, f of x is your function, this notation, f to the negative 1 of x, this is the inverse of a function. So all you're doing is swapping the x's and the y's. Not too much to it. So if this is my input and that's my output, the inverse is just a flip. It's just the x and the y. So 0, negative 3 becomes 3, 0. 1, 2 becomes 2, 1. 4, 1 becomes 1, 4. Okay, this one. So function. So graph of the function is shown. Note that the graph also showed the dashed line y equals x. So this is the graph of the line y equals x. Okay. So basically, what you want to do in this is you want to swap the x's and the y's and put it write the inverse of the function as a set of ordered pairs. Okay, so basically flip these around, this is negative 2, negative 4. Flip these around, this is negative 3, 0. Flip these around, this is 2, 1. Flip this around, this is 1, 4. Now let's plot this. So negative 2, negative 4 is right here. Negative 3, 0 is right here. 2, 1 is right here. And 1, 4 is up here. So notice, what do you observe about the graphs of the function? So if you look at the graph of this function, if I turn this around, do you see that this is a mirror image? So it goes like this. So basically, all the dots, the distance from here is the same distance to here, and all of these right here. So what's happening is that this is a reflection across the line y equals x. So it's a reflection across the line y equals x. Next part. Find the inverse of the given linear function. So you're given your function f of x equals 2x minus 4. So basically, let's go through the steps. Substitute y for f of x. So substitute y into there. Y equals 2x minus 4. Switch x and y. So basically, switch x and y. X equals 2y minus 4. Solve for y. Solve for y. Add 4 to both sides. Get x plus 4 equals 2y. Solve for y. Divide by 2. Y equals x plus 4 divided by 2. Simple. Okay, so we have two different functions. Now I want to rename y as an inverse function. So basically, my inverse function goes right here. So this means f inverse of x equals x plus 4, and you divide that by 2. Now, some of you might be wondering in context, what does that mean? So let's try to graph these. I would show it on the computer, but I am too lazy to pull that up right now. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So very quickly, basically, and this is the line. This is going to be the line y equals x. Okay, so that's a line y equals x. Let's plot 2x minus 4. So that means my y-intercept is going to be here. This is going to be, my y-intercept is negative 4. And I'm going up to right 1, up to right 1, up to right 1. So my graph, sorry, I'm just freehanding it. It looks something like that. Okay. This inverse So let's see, I don't know what that line is. Let's see, that's going to be 1/2 x plus 4, so that's 1/2 x plus 2. If I distribute, that's 1/2 x minus 2, plus 2. So what that means is this is going to be a y-intercept of 2, and then my slope is going to be 1/2. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So it's going to look something like this. So if you look at this graph here, probably not the best image. I tried my best, okay? I tried my best. So basically, you see this line here. It's reflected across the line y equals x. And you can prove that using graph paper. So just bear with me, I don't have graph paper, you see? But I think you'll get the idea. But that's one way to check your work, okay? Go to the other example. Okay, so other examples I have. So the reason why I'm going through some of these examples is it might just be good just so you can see the different types of problems. More of an algebra exercise. So again, this is going to be a function. So f of x equals x minus 1 over 4. So first step was replace f of x with y. So substitute y for f of x. This part here just becomes y equals x minus 1 over 4. Next step, switch the x's and y's. Switch the x's and y's. So x equals y minus 1 over 4. Next step, you want to solve for y. So if you want to solve for y, what I see here is there's a 4 in the denominator. Multiply by 4 on both sides. If I multiply by 4 on both sides, this cancels out. I get 4x equals y minus 1. Next, if I add 1 to both sides, this is 4x plus 1 equals y. So what that means is now I can rewrite this as y equals 4x plus 1. Now this is the inverse of this function. So we have to rename y and label it f inverse of x equals 4x plus 1. Now what I want to challenge you to do is, if you have a graphing calculator or if you wanted to use Desmos, try to graph this function and try to graph this function. And when you do, try to see if it's reflected across the line y equals x. Okay, I have one more example. And after that I'll leave it up to you to try to figure out the homework. So f of x equals negative 0.4x. Okay, so same idea. First step, change all your f of x's to y's. Y equals negative 0.4x. Okay, step 2. So you want to swap the x's and the y's. So switch the x's and the y's. So this becomes x equals negative 0.4 y. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to get y by itself. So if you want to get y by itself, what I see you can do is I can divide by negative 0.4. Divide by negative 0.4. That cancels out. So on the side here, I'm going to get 1 over negative 0.4x equals y. You could just put x, yeah, like that is fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate this. So I don't know what that is in my calculator. A little hard to see, I apologize. So it's going to be 1 divided by negative 0.4. So that means it's going to be negative 2.5. Okay. So this is going to be negative 2.5x equals y. So if I were to flip that around, this is y equals negative 2.5x. So now, if I want to rename y and label it the inverse of that function, so it would be inverse of x equals negative 2.5x. And that is it. Okay, so hopefully this video helps on inverses of functions. Alright, bye.